David, the temple, but he encouraged his son Solomon. We find that Elisha, he wanted the double portion of what Elijah had. And so that was another situation of a younger man encouraging, an older man encouraging a younger man. And Paul tried to encourage Timothy. And even expressed, let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example to the believers. And I've seen through the years that a teen department can really make a difference in a church. And you let a teen department get on fire for the Lord, and it catches to all the adults. And teenagers are such a vital part in any church. And I know that things can be expensive at times. We've had to spend quite a bit of money on our bus in the last few months. But it's times like this that you realize that it is worth it. We don't want to allow ourselves to get to the point to where we let the maintenance go so much that it costs too much to get something fixed. So along the way, I just think it's good that we just keep our bus in good shape. And I don't want to take a testimony away from our young people, but one of our young people expressed this week at camp to one of our workers, expressed that they had never been in a youth group where they saw a revival like this. And our young people were regularly at the altar, and I appreciate that. Brother Josiah preached on Tuesday night, and I felt like on Tuesday night it could have broken loose on Tuesday night, and I think we could have had an altar call, and it would have been, we always look for that service, what we call breaking loose, and I think it very well could have happened Tuesday night. The Spirit was so good, I think it actually could have happened on Monday night. And Brother Murillo preached a tremendous message. And throughout, even on the last day, the altars were full on Thursday afternoon. And I just was thrilled with our young people, their spirit. And so I wanted you to hear, we took 26 teenagers, I think it was. That was just teenagers. And I don't know how many of them, we don't want to force them to give a testimony. I know Brother Josiah gave you all a little bit of encouragement on how you conduct yourself up here. We don't want you to come up here and be silly, flipping around and, giggling and for 30, 45 seconds, and then the rest of us can't figure out what to do with you. So we don't want a bunch of silliness. I'm not afraid. I think it's good if you want to tell a humorous story. That's fine. We like to hear that you had fun. We don't want you to come up here and just be all stiff-boarded and so reverent that you can't smile in the middle of your testimony. We got one young man who wanted to preach a whole message, and I kind of felt bad for him. Brother Josiah trying to get everybody. He come up all excited. Preacher, can I preach my message? Brother Josiah says, no. And I said, well, he's excited about wanting to talk about the things of the Lord. And so I want us to take a time like this, encourage these young people. Ecclesiastes says in Ecclesiastes chapter 11 and verse 9, rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart and in the sight of thine eyes, but know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. And so in chapter 11, God says, rejoice in your youth, have fun in your youth. But then in chapter 12, he reminds us, he says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth. Why? Because the evil days are coming. And then the whole rest of the chapter, at least probably 80% of the rest of the chapter, talks about getting old while the sun or the light or the moon and the stars be darkened. That means you can't see as well with your eyes. And when the day and the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the knees just aren't as steady for you, and they'll tremble, and the strong men bow themselves, and the grinders cease. That means your teeth are falling out, and so and it explains all of that. And the windows are darkened, and the doors will be shut in the streets, and it continues on. So anyway, rejoice in your youth, but remember God in your youth. And then in verse 13 of Ecclesiastes chapter 12 says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. And so Solomon is, for a while, he got backslidden and looking at life, very wise individual, but he looked at life and wasn't looking at it in a way that he should have. But when it's all said and done, then he says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And I'm glad we have a group of teenagers that love the Lord. They know how to have fun. They love each other. And I love our youth group, what you're seeing in this youth group. And I'm glad that we have gotten there. For years, we categorize. Not that we do that on purpose necessarily, but we've always had categorization of church kids and bus kids. Now, all of you know that I've always said bus kids are just as important as church kids, and they are. I was a bus kid, and so we'll never minimize these bus kids. But what I saw this week, and when I refer to as church kids, that means mom and daddy come. And I actually, boy, don't miss this. I had one of our teenagers say to me this week, while I was talking with them and was asking some questions. They were getting some things right in their own life and asking questions about their own life. And I want to tell you what they said to me. They said, Pastor, and these won't be the exact words because they're here tonight, but basically along the lines, they said, Pastor, do you realize that when you make reference, you talk about the church kids and the bus kids, do you realize that the church kids have as much sin in their life as the bus kids do? And I said, absolute. The only difference is the church kids are professionals at it, and they know how to hide it better. And so I let it be known to this individual that this pastor is not naive to it. The church kids, I said the church kids know all the lingo, and they've been talking it since they were born, and they know how to play the game better. Bus kids, a lot of times you just get what you get. They don't have as many filters, and they'll say things at times that the church kids only say at right timing when they know they won't get in trouble. Again, because they got the system down. Now, by the way, that doesn't mean all of them. It doesn't mean all of them. But I tell you what I like. I see that these church kids and these bus kids have mingled together to become a youth group. And they prayed at the altar together. They've encouraged each other. They just helped each other throughout the week. And that's where we are now. They're all just being a friend with each other, letting God speak to their heart. And I think that's great. I think that's the way that it's supposed to be. So, Brother Josiah, I didn't know if you'd want to say something first, and then we'll start from there, and I'll let you kind of instruct the young people on maybe how you want them to give their testimonies. But let's let this be a blessing to the church. I wanted to give you a little bit of scripture and remind ourselves, let's keep working with these youth. Last week, we had one of our youth that got saved at junior camp. And so Brother Jason and them took the juniors to camp, had one get saved, so we're thankful for that. Had a teenager get saved this afternoon on the bus who was with us all week at camp. Brother Jason asked him and says, well, did you enjoy camp? Oh, I didn't understand it all, really. He sat on the front row all week long. Didn't understand it all, really. And Brother Jason says, really? Wait, you didn't understand it all? How could you not go to youth camp all week long, and then when the week's done, I didn't understand it all, really. And so Brother Jason started asking about his salvation. And so the young man said, no, I don't think when I die I'd go to heaven. And so this afternoon on the bus, he bowed his head and asked Christ to come into his heart. And so hopefully it makes sense to him now, huh? And so anyway, Brother Josiah, come and get it started for us.